against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you, and then learn how to raise you. But I forget you're from the wilderness.
Hello everyone, what is up? I am Rob.
I'm Eamon.
Damn son, it's a mini Fuzz, Eamon, would you believe?
I love mini Fuzz.
Do you?
They're good.
Yeah.
They're small, they're bite-sized. They're as long as a big episode, actually. There's just little pieces.
They're bite-sized in concept.
They're fragmented.
Try not to sneeze there, actually.
Have a sneeze for yourself.
No, I'm gonna.
Have a sneeze.
Watch. Namaste. Yeah. I'm gonna get through it. We got through it.
Vernacular.
We did that. How's everyone? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day wherever you may be. I'm roasting.
You're roasting?
Absolutely roasting.
But you're in that big fleece now.
It was a bad
That's a
bad
camouflage
choice.
fleece. You wouldn't find you out in the forest if you went hunting for Bigfoot because you just blend in.
Well, as I'm actually ready for Bigfoot hunting, that's the idea.
Yeah?
I might, after this episode, go out looking for Bigfoot.
In the rocks.
Yeah, in the rocks. Yeah.
Bigfoot in the rocks. That'd actually be a great documentary.
I'll probably find him. He could be up there drinking
Probably
cans.
up there drinking cans of Dutch Gold.
probably.
Yeah. Smoking the fag butts.
Probably.
Dog is a dogger.
We've got a UAP jam-packed episode today. Cheeky little Irish Banshee ghosty sighting as well at the end of this episode. But the big news of last week was on November 13th, there was the Congressional UAP hearing, the second of its kind, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of this yet, but I followed the first one fairly closely.
Well, this has actually a good bit in it, and I would actually say that it's more in-depth in some ways, and there's interesting little bits. So basically we've got a kind of a synopsis of that to kind of give everyone a bit of an idea of what went down. But before we get into it, we'd like to remind everyone, if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy what we do here on Monster Fuzz, head on over to our Patreon to leave support. You'll get your ad-free episodes, access to the Discord, and an exclusive episode once per month as well. You'll also get a shout out here on Mini Fuzz. Eamon, if they found Bigfoot up in the rocks or have any other spooky encounters or ghost experiences, where did I send them?
Yeah, any of the things that Rob just said, their ghost experiences, Bigfoot specifically in the rocks, give us a shout at monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com. That's monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com and not monsterfuzz@gmail.com. No. They don't know why they're getting such strange emails.
They don't. Big shouts out to our new patrons, Mr. Bob Gusky. We all know Bob.
We do know Bob.
Mr. Graham, we know Mr.
We
Graham.
know Graham in the flesh.
He's back again. And Mr. Matt West. Shouts out to those. Thanks for the support, gents. We appreciate it greatly. So, yeah, as we mentioned, the Congressional UAP hearing happened once again. Lots of interesting tidbits in this one, Eamon, including I seen some footage that I hadn't seen before in this one. It was a helicopter. I don't know if it was released at this or it was recent or what, but it was basically a helicopter tailing a USO.
Oh, submersible.
Yeah. And it was weird. Like it's an infrared camera, I think. But whatever this is like on the infrared is shown up as disc based or like a ball under the water.
Does it go from like the air into the water, or is it?
It does, I think, at the end of the footage. Now I only seen it when it was tailing it along in the water, and it was keeping up with the helicopter.
Right. How fast can a helicopter go? Because obviously a plane can go very fast.
A couple of 100 kilometers an hour, I think.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah, probably.
You'd wonder, because you know the way they can do those crazy speeds and right angles and stuff in the air. I personally haven't seen what that's like underwater. You'd imagine the resistance of water would be a lot more, so they'd like slow down. If they're able to do stuff like that underwater as they are just in the air, that'd be fairly...
Yeah, so, when we read through this here and when you hear all about it, you might default your thinking to it's aliens, but... what most of the people here at this congressional hearing were saying was that like it mightn't necessarily be aliens, it's just that they're unidentified, or it's technology that we don't know what it is yet. So like it could be human.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that they're always around US air bases might be that they're highly classified aircraft that the US are using, possibly, or
And this helicopter footage was from Kuwait. Now, Kuwait was a spot where there was a lot of military activity for a long time. So
it is a funny thing though, because we were assuming, the assumption is that the military doesn't have the capability, the engineering, the physics, understanding to actually create something like this, which seems to be the established knowledge. if that is true and it's not aliens, that gets really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
Really,
it's
really interesting.
it's still fascinating. So that's the thing.
Could this be some sort of a force of nature? Like I know when Grush was talking in the last congressional hearings, he was saying some wild stuff about Bigfoot and like Bigfoot potentially being an alien. All that stuff about the lights and Bigfoot and when the other presents itself, like all that stuff. Could this be a manifestation of something like that? Like it's really bizarre.
Very bizarre. So if you want to take it away, man, just a little bit of an overview of the whole thing here.
Yeah, so I'm hearing this for the first time as well as the listeners because I haven't had a chance to actually listen to this properly yet, but I will. The House Oversight Committee Joint Subcommittee hearing was called Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, Exposing the Truth. The hearing aimed to further pull back the curtain on the secret UAP research programs conducted by the United States government and undisclosed findings that they have yielded. So once again, this was like Arrow and ATIP and all that sort of stuff, and they're trying to basically get almost like a freedom of information for all the stuff for what the US know about the UAP. And they've given it a sexy name, UAP, instead of UFO, because UFO means you're a weirdo and UAP means you're a science mind.
Yeah.
The four witnesses were retired US Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, former Department of Defense official Louis Elizondo, whose book is imminent, which came out recently, NASA UAP Independent Study Team member Michael Gold, and journalist Michael Schellenberger. Michael Schellenberger, I believe I've heard on the old Rogies podcast.
Probably, yeah.
Before he went aggressively right.
Probably.
I think even Schellenberger might be.
He is, yeah. Yeah, he is, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I think actually, interestingly, most of these are. I think one of the people from this congressional hearing is is Trump's former guy. It's in here anyway.
Classic Democrats, libertarian agenda to hide the alien phenomenon. Schellenberger most significantly provided the committee with a copy of an 11-page alleged whistleblower report describing various types of UAP evidence being illegally withheld across US Congress, fucking Democrats, including a supposedly unacknowledged special access program, USAP, collecting military intelligence data on UAPs called Immaculate Constellation.
So that Immaculate Constellation thing is apparently like, people were throwing around the idea that like even knowing about that could get you on lists and stuff like that. It's like super top secret, super kind of hot kind of thing.
It's funny that, like, again, I'm not saying this is real, but if you've ever listened to Dogman radio encounters with Vic Kundis, he will say on that, he's like, as long as you don't provide evidence of Dogman being real, the government will leave you alone. They'll let you talk about it. But if you provide evidence or you show footage that's real, then they'll come and get you. And he's like, that's the truth. That's what I heard. Because he has that weird voice modulator thing on. So I don't know. Like this Immaculate Constellation seems to be similar, I suppose. Can a man know too much? Can man's hubris get the better of him once
Probably
again?
with all this stuff, do you know what I mean? Like,
imagine getting killed for telling people about aliens. That's such a bad way to go.
It's probably a good way. Like, you become the ultimate alien martyr. You know what I mean?
That's
you're dying for the cause.
Good idea, bad idea. So the Pentagon last month categorically denied the existence of any such program after portions of the unnamed whistleblower's claim were first reported by Schellenberger on his public Substack blog. The full document describes a number of alleged encounters or observations of UAPs, including a large saucer-shaped UAP 200 to 400 meters across that was seen on satellite imagery emerging from thick clouds before suddenly reversing direction. This behavior was evasive in nature and implied that the saucer-shaped UAP had become aware that it was under observation by a space-based collection platform.
No.
The document note stated. Have you seen Nope?
No. Nope.
We'll leave it alone. So
Why was that?
It's about a UFO, let's say.
Right.
But the way that it actually presents the way it explains what the UFO is.
Right.
Is interesting.
Metaphysical?
Not exactly.
No,
it's... I'll ruin it for you if I tell you, because it's good and you might watch it someday. But all the listeners, if you know, you know. It is also describes the shape and behaviours of the most common types of UAPs reported by government witnesses, including pilots between 1991, that's when Bleach came out, and 2022. Or was Bleach 1989?
Who knows?
Who's to know? The 4 witnesses at the Congressional UAP hearing provided written testimonies.
Yeah, so here what we've got now is basically a summary from the 4 horsemen of the UAPs there and what they said. Yeah. And so, yeah, basically all of them had something different to kind of add to the whole thing. So Galladay called out UAPs as a safety risk for Navy pilots, which is interesting. He was acting as the chief meteorologist for the Navy at the time of the 2015 Go Fast encounter between a Navy pilot and a UAP. So we've mentioned the Go Fast one before.
Yeah, that's the really common one, I suppose, that everyone knows, where the pilot is shouting and, oh my, did you see that?
That isn't the one with, what's his name that was on Rogan? The pilot. David Fravor. I don't know, because there was like 3 released at the same time, and Go Fast was. But I don't think it was Fravor himself, but he was talking about it. Yeah. So it's interesting because it's just more people talking about these same sightings, right? So it says that footage was one of the videos officially released by the Navy back in 2020. We would have talked about it at the time. Galladay accused elements of the government of engaging in a disinformation campaign designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. His testimony didn't use the words alien or ET, but he mentioned a new realization that we are not the only advanced intelligence in the universe. So Galladay called for greater transparency around UAPs. So he himself is sort of saying it is aliens, or it might be, basically.
Well, he's saying it's something that we don't know. The fun thing about this at the moment is that it's possible that it's anything.
Yeah.
We just know there's these weird crafts. Yeah. Like, it could be the singularity. The machines may have made saucers. We don't know. It could be demonic. It could be interdimensional. It could be like they could be lads living in the crusts of the earth and they go into the
simulation
water.
Theory.
Who knows? Yeah, and like you can just make up anything and apply it to it, which is very fun because it's actually happening. Not logic. If you go with Occam's razor, the most likely thing would probably be that we've
human tech.
Yeah. But then if you also go with Occam's razor, how would we have created this stuff that physics doesn't seem to support?
Yeah, you see, the thing is, most of the mechanisms in the world operate around profitability and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, usually the drive for technology is, money, really, and obviously utility. People want this technology to work, but like, if you're developing, say, something that has been sighted where it can go underwater and come up out of the ground or out of the water and fly off, like, you would imagine whatever technology that employs and uses, that would be applicable to other aspects of life. So if it has like some reactor, that's a special type of reactor in it to fly, to propel itself, you would imagine that they would be trying to make consumer grade versions of these things now. Do you know what I mean?
This is it, and it's just so expensive up front when you're kind of getting into it. I think the only thing with these is that you couldn't put a human inside it without some kind of buffer, I guess. Yeah. Because we would just explode.
Yeah, but it was like that. Remember that? I think we talked about it on the pod for some reason. We were probably just shooting the shit. But do you remember that woman, that footage where she was on a hike and she broke her nose and sprained her ankle or something, and they put her in a helicopter and flew off with her, and she was spinning around the bed. Do you remember that? Where she was hanging. So basically, for listeners that haven't seen it, they put her for some reason with a broken nose and a dodgy ankle.
They didn't lift her up before they started flying.
But they didn't need to put her in the stretcher. So for some reason, they put her in a stretcher. They insisted that she had to get into a stretcher. Put the stretcher on the end of the helicopter. and the centrifugal force, whatever type of force it was, sent her spinning so fast that she blacked out almost immediately, but like she nearly died, like that spinning that fast nearly. So she was in hospital for a couple of weeks because
of going on the waltzers in Tremor for hours, like in a
but like she literally, like, she's spinning almost as fast as the helicopter blades, and she was and she was in hospital for weeks, like. But it's so funny because it's like, you just broke your nose.
You probably could have made your way back down the mountain.
Yeah, she could have
you would have been
she just
fine.
could have got in the helicopter and sat down.
There's no fucking movie about someone who sprained their ankle on a hike and like had to fight to get down. It's doable, like.
Oh man!
And imagine the pressure if your nose
well, you
is
can
broken
have brain
anyway.
hemorrhages. Like,
but imagine your nose is broken, so the pressure in your like if you sniff in, your eyes will fill up because your nose is busted. So imagine what it would feel like to just spin around really fast with a broken nose and the equilibrium of your face all over the place.
You know, apparently it can cause aneurysms and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, so what we're saying is to be able to get in something that can hurtle through the ocean and then fly up into the sky, you would have to be in some kind of specially designed rig.
It's like if the rides in Disneyland were real.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, so Gallaudet goes on to say that confirmation that UAPs are interacting with humanity came in January 2015 when he witnessed an email. This is actually quite interesting. He says he witnessed himself an email mysteriously disappearing from his inbox on the Navy's secure network. So this was a big part of it, this whole email.
So they're actually now suppressing information that people have. That's mad then, because you can imagine the amount of resources you would have to put if you were going to take specific emails.
This was more just a missent email. So like,
my apologies. I thought you meant something disappeared from his inbox by mistake.
Well, like it
was recalled.
Yeah,
after
it was
they
recalled.
Sent it. Right, gotcha.
So Gallaudet was serving as the commander of the Naval Meteorology and Oceanography Command at the time, and his personnel were taking part in naval exercises off the US East Coast. The email, which was from a Fleet Forces Command Operation Officer, which was going out to all subordinate commanders, bore the subject line, this is in his own words, urgent safety of flight issue, and said words to the effect of, if any of you know what these are, call me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve it soon, we will have to shut down the exercise.
Yes, loads of the pilots talk about this. They're out doing their training or whatever, and like literally.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when you're in the air, a near collision is, a good bit of a distance. It's not like nearly hitting someone with the car or whatever. But guys who said that these things have shot right past them, like alarmingly near.
Yeah, and I think probably in the earlier days of the podcast, probably pre-Ukraine war, you and I were floating around with the ideas of like maybe it's Russian, maybe it's Chinese or something, but like based on how the boys are doing in Ukraine, I don't think they've got anything we're talking about. So yeah, that's so like, because if anyone did, it would be used. It's like
the other part as well, if you had these and you were the only country that had these and you wanted to take over the world, you wanted some sort of,
use them.
Yeah, there's no reason not to. You'd be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna put like loads of artillery on these and that's the end of it. Yeah,
it's no different from like the Germans using machine guns in World War I against cavalry, against the Polish hussars.
Yeah. The Panzer tanks.
Or it was actually the Allies in World War I that used tanks for the first time properly against the Germans.
Well, even like
but they had, this will give you an example of what you're talking about, to give you an example. They had, like, I think the Allies had something like 600 to 800 tanks in World War I, and the Germans only had like 60 or 80.
Yeah.
So like, it's actually I don't know if it's in the original, but All Quiet on the Western Front, the new version of that shows, like, it captures the horror of like the Germans meeting the tank for the first time really well, because they're like, what is this?
What the fuck is this?
So yeah, you're right. If any military had it, they'd use it.
Yeah, because like back in World War II, there was area, like you said, lads on horseback against a tank,
mechanized
artillery.
Army.
You had even new methods of warfare, like the blitzkrieg and all that sort of stuff. So like, you're going to be innovative with whatever technology that you can get a hold of, and obviously the Germans were quite advanced at the time. Now, yeah, I think if a country had this and they had nefarious intentions, or they wanted to take over, they want to aggressively expand, there's just no reason not to.
Like, to be fair,
unless you can't make enough of these to do enough damage. That's the only way. Like,
to be fair, like, drones are definitely cutting edge tech, and like drone warfare is like basically the new warfare now. Yeah. So maybe you could argue that these things are drones. And to be fair,
that would make sense in a way.
Like, it would make the most sense if you're talking about like a non-piloted thing that moves in ways that probably humans wouldn't be able to tolerate very well. Then a drone might seem likely. Then
the way there's no, like, there doesn't seem to be a combustible engine.
No. That's true.
I suppose drones would have propellers, but that's like you need.
Well, drones in water would have to have some kind of engine. Like,
but you can't. We don't to go from the sky to the water.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's like you have to give up something. So you'll see a seaplane.
Yeah.
And it's shite when it's on the water.
Yeah, yeah.
But because you have to give up, you have to compromise basically to get things through. Same with a hovercraft.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not great, on land. So
who knows? But Luis Elizondo says he says that his testimony was even more direct. The former DoD official claimed the US and some of its adversaries are in possession of UAP technologies. So he said that excessive secrecy has been used to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. Elizondo called for a national UAP strategy that would promote transparency, and he also asked for protections for whistleblowers.
Yeah. Like having listened to his book on Spotify, which is great. Anyone who wants to like read it, it's a very fascinating read. If what he's saying is true, it's massively bizarre. He does a really good as well. He gets a little bit into the religious angle of things, only a little bit, and only to illustrate that one of the scientists was saying we have to look at all possibilities, and he was kind of taking the religious angle into a certain degree and wondering, like, possibly are these things being written about in ancient biblical texts?
Yeah, it's always
which I guess you have. If you're approaching it and you're doing proper science, you have to entertain every possibility.
That's actually an angle that next time we have Brother Richard on, we'll ask him about aliens in the Bible. That's the
there's lots of weird stuff. Again, Brother Richard, yourself, you ask him a question and he gives you such a comprehensive answer. But apparently God's glory actually means heaviness.
All right.
And the idea is that these ancient aliens, let's say, when they were being written about, the glory was to illustrate how massive these crafts were. It's part of it. And if you see did you ever see any of the biblically accurate angels with all the eyes and stuff?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, maybe if we actually got close to one of these UAPs, what if it was just all these have you heard about the circle in the square? There's this thing they've found on the footage, and it's like a square with a circle that spins inside it.
All right.
It's one of the UAPs. They've seen, like, there's the Tic Tacs, there's the saucers, and there's these weird things. It's like a square rectangle, and there seems to be some sort of spinning circle inside it. You have the big triangles as well. It's like a fucking children's place. You're trying to put it into the holes or whatever. But yeah, like bizarre shapes. So like
geometric
all these things
design.
And we're seeing all these things now. But like if you think about it, say like you've got the B-52, which has a kind of a Batman type shape to it, like the symbol. Yeah. But most of the other planes, the MiGs, the F-16s, the F-18s, they follow a relatively similar. But you're not going to have saucers, squares, cigars, and then these weird things with spinning circles. Like that's very strange if we were to create this stuff, unless we're actually, or some country is so good at creating it, they're going, we can make these any fucking shape we want, because like
we have an engine that can...
it doesn't follow science, so we can make it look like, the big Chun-Li you made in Minecraft, and just that would be class. Imagine big Chun-Li Butsy flying around the skies.
Because you're talking about geometric shapes. So I was watching a documentary on Jupiter actually, and recently they discovered that there's like storms, but these storms are all operating in like a geometric pattern all at once in unison. So like there's like, say, let's just say they're tornadoes, right? I don't know exactly what the technical term would be.
Of storms.
There'd be like 8 tornadoes all going around in a circle, all operating on their own, with like one in the center as well and stuff. But it's operating all
around each other.
Yeah, all operating in tandem. So like a full geometric storm on this planet that's just operating. So like they're starting to see now geometry in places where they're like, oh, well, what does that mean? If that... It's like the Da Vinci Code.
Oh, man. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2.
But so... one person could just say, yeah, well, obviously it's mathematical in its origin, so everything will come from mathematics in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
mathematics it's derived from it.
A way that we can explain the universe.
Yeah, so
it's mad that numbers align to it.
Yeah, so you know, the more you look at it, the more weird it gets. But the further the more you understand, like, you understand all this stuff, and we're able to be at a point where you and I are both morons from Wexford, but we're able to talk about tornadoes on Jupiter, right? But at the same time, we're able to talk about that. But to me, like, the origins of all this could still be God and Jeebus. So, like, you're going from like something that originated thousands of years ago in concept to something that is like so far away, and people are like saying, well, this is science and this is how it's happening. It could easily just be religious in nature. It's mad to me, like, because the more you know, almost the more it stays the same in a way.
Like,
you know, that kind of way.
Like, you do wonder sometimes to what extent, like, will we ever find out when you die? Will you find out? Like, that's,
or if there's anything,
like I don't know. Sometimes I can get lost in the weeds. Actually, when you said that, I got a pang of heebie-jeebies because it just brought me back to being too hashed out. but it's
feel
true,
my heart beat.
Black, then whiter. All I see. Fibonacci. But that's the thing. Yeah, like, we can't know, and I think right now we have all the information and none of the wisdom of what's actually going on here. But to your point, it makes as much sense as this, you know, big bang that happened 15 billion years ago or whatever, as some creator that we can't understand. Like, none of it makes, even when you think about evolution, the fact we talk about now how we can it's hard to know whether we're driving evolution and to what extent evolution, maybe nature drives us. But at the very start, when we were like, I always say it wrong, amoeba. There was no reason for them to create into more complex life forms. There was no reason. They didn't have want. They couldn't drive. So there's a thing that's forcing evolution and life onto us, if we're correct in our theories of how we've gotten here. Yeah. Which we also may not be. So, like, the fact that we're all alive, if you just stop for a second and consider that you're alive listening to this garbage, that's insanity. Like, it's so insane.
Yeah, it could be just, I think I've probably mentioned it before, but it could be as simple as, like, just the very simple idea is to just, like, consume and fill your niche. Like, like it could just be that. But why is that propelling us?
I don't think,
why are we propelled to consume?
You know,
unless it's to become harmonious, like that to me always makes sense. Like when you're talking about like a circular economy or like a circular, like a cycle, a cyclical thing where, you know, I suppose like on a simple level, it'd be like you're a farmer who's able to eat his own produce and use his waste to grow more produce. It's like a circle, right? It works. If humanity is supposed to be like that, where it's like harmonious.
See, I don't know if we're supposed to be, because if we are driven by something,
we're supposed to go.
We're supposed to do this madness that we're doing for some reason. Because if we were supposed to just be agricultural, there would have been no reason to change anything. It'd be like nature allowing us to have an idea about commercial farming and industry that then threw us way off course. But if we're back to these things that are single-celled organisms that had no reason to evolve into anything, if all that is correct,
Amiibos.
You would think that the Nintendo figures. So, and that's what really gets me, is that like we might be on a course. You also think about this, right? People can't stop doing what they do, what's in their nature, and that might be in some ways like implemented by your upbringing and your genes and your brain chemistry and all that sort of stuff. But I've thought a lot of times before, is like a serial killer, someone who does the most heinous things we can imagine, if they had the choice objectively, they would choose not to do that, because it couldn't be worth what they go through. You would just be like, oh, I'm going to change my brain chemistry to not want to do this and just get on with my life. But they can't. There's like, they're wired in a way where they almost have to do this stuff. And I wonder to what extent we're all on a kind of a predestined track. I kind of am a little bit fatalistic, and I believe that we have much less free will than we think we have.
I think I think it's less individual and more collective. I think it's I think the individual is probably not as important. You do need individuals because obviously the individual is what influences the whole at times. But generally, I think it's more of a collective push, and it's like a rising tide raises all ships, right? So, like, gradually, like there would have been a time where only the elites had like electricity. Do you know what I mean? Like only the important people had electric in their house.
And
now
it just
everyone has
trickles
it.
down over time.
So it's just like a push that keeps going to where we don't know. It does definitely seem like space, which is why we're always looking
even
up.
with individuality, like no people are really very different from each other. If you go back a few layers, it's only the outer surface that's like, oh, I'm this and I'm that and I'm different and blah. But like push back a little bit and it's like you're exactly the same as all the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like the vast majority, and even down to mental illness and stuff that makes your brain chemistry go, really off the wall. At the end of it, you're still eating and sleeping and shitting. Like there's still a drive.
It's very fine margins.
Very, very fine margins. Like, I think we think they're a lot more intricate than they are. But the reality is we will create problems that we don't have until we get real problems. There's some in us that wants problems.
Yeah, but it's also funny how the margins are so small, but yet a little small deviation can really fuck up your life.
This is true. Yeah,
in those very small margins.
I think a lot of people aren't honest enough when they talk about, especially these lifestyle influencers. I don't mean Instagram. I mean like the guys who are get up at 6 and have a nice bath and I fucking do 10 rounds on the bag. I think that a lot of that is, don't get me wrong, I'm discipline and all the rest of it. There's places for that for sure. And if you really want to be that, body is a temple kind of way, that's fine. But I think a lot of it is like luck. Like what if you were getting up at 6 every morning doing whatever and you just can't get anyone to watch your YouTube videos?
Oh yeah, well that's
a lot of people.
That's more people than not.
And it's like, what's your drive for doing it? And again, I think it's one of those things you probably can't get out of your own way. I will not get up at 6 a.m. to put myself in a nice bath ever.
Well, actually, ice baths are a bit pseudoscience anyway. So
yeah, they don't actually.
No, I think they're actually proven to be harmful.
Oh really? There's something about your endocrine system that needs to reach homeostasis. Like it makes you feel better because I
might be wrong, but I think
I have heard that there's no
brain issues.
Judging by the lads advocating for them, you could be onto something there.
No, don't get me wrong, they're great for DOMs. I've used them for muscle soreness like after training and they do work like.
Yeah. Well, you have those cryo chambers.
So does like sleeping in the bed. Do you know what I mean? So like just let me sleep for that. Instead of getting up at 6, give me another 2 hours in the bed.
And that's the thing. If you go out all night on a bender drinking and poison your body and you get to bed at 5 a.m. and you're up at 8, you're going to feel like warmed over shit the next day. If you drink the same amount of alcohol, all the poison, but you go to bed at 9 and you get up at 9 the next day, you're still not going to feel great. You're comparably, you're going to feel way better. Rest. If you go to the gym every day of your life and never rest, your muscles won't grow bigger.
No.
Rest, lads. Stay in the bed. Stay in the bed.
There's a bit of an existential / lifestyle rant for you there. So
good. Girlfriend drummed you. Good. Stay in the bed all day. Good.
Yeah. So Michael Gold, do you want to take that one away?
Gold is a former NASA administrator focused on space policy. He was part of an independent study team that issued a 2023 report recommending NASA play a prominent role in studying and collecting data on UAPs. Gold specified he was speaking for himself, not as a representative of NASA or his current employer, aerospace company Redwire.
Shouts out.
Gold called for greater NASA participation in the study of UAPs. Data is the lifeblood of NASA and science in general. Without data, nothing can be achieved, he wrote. This is why the stigmatization of the UAP phenomena is so harmful. The stigma prevents scientific inquiry, the best tool that we have to understand anomalies from being fully applied. Gold hoped that more public NASA involvement would reduce the stigma of reporting and studying UAP incidents.
So last up in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, we have Michael Schellenberger. Schellenberger's extensive written testimony accused the government of not being transparent about UFOs. He revisited statements made by others, including former military intelligence officer David Grush, who we were talking about earlier, who claimed that the US government has retrieved alien spacecraft. Grush has not provided evidence to back up that extraordinary accusation.
Yeah, but Grush can't provide evidence. He's only being told that. And it could be misinformation for sure. But I feel whatever this article is, that's bad journalism because it's not on him to provide that evidence.
Schellenberger noted there may be other explanations beside extraterrestrial origins for UAPs, including hoaxes, birds, drones, or natural occurrences like ball lightning. The bulk of Schellenberger's written testimony is a timeline of UAP events. Like most of the other witnesses, he called for greater transparency from the government, and he says that we deserve the truth. So, what do you think?
I think that if you listen to Luis Elizondo's book, there's parts of that where will-o'-the-wisps, I guess you would call them, manifestations of balls of light appear in his house, not just to him, but to
into the Elizondo dude, like
into his house. They see them going around the place, and he's not saying what they are, but he's saying him and multiple others. He said, "Look, maybe it is." To be fair to him, he's fairly, I suppose, median in kind of where he's coming from. He's going, maybe this is just a weird thing,
right?
But he has seen these little balls of light that just go through his house. His neighbors have seen him. People he's brought over for dinner have seen him. And where he lands on it is like he doesn't know if it's some sort of surveillance thing that the government have, or if the UAP lads know what you're doing. You would imagine if they had the kind of technology to make this sort of mad engineering stuff, they would probably be real good at listening to you. Do you know what I mean? They'd be like, you would imagine they'd be able to innovate massively.
Yeah, I mean, it seems at a glance here, just looking at that and then looking at the Congressional hearing, you can get summaries of it on YouTube. If anyone's interested, you can check them out there if you just search like UAP Congressional hearing from November. But like, it seems like at a glance that basically these guys are all just like, look, we know there's something that other people don't, and we wish we could talk about it more, and we hope that the government will allow us to. Like, I think kind of what it sounds like.
Some of them are going there.
At first, I thought it was like last year at the last one, I thought it was more like they're running a bit of a con job and they're just kind of almost playing chicken with the government. They're like, we know that the government aren't going to come out and say anything to the contrary. So we're fairly safe in just saying that there's stuff out there.
So if you listen to a lot of stuff, Louis, because Luis Elizondo obviously wanted to publicize his book, so he did a big, publicity tour, podcast, blah, blah, blah. But he says several times on several different podcasts, he says, there's stuff I'm allowed to talk about. The stuff in the book, he's allowed to talk about. There's other stuff he's not allowed to talk about. And if he talks about it, he'll be court-martialed and blah, blah, blah. So some of these guys, I think, do actually know stuff for sure. Some of them, maybe like Grush, have been told stuff, whether that's disinformation, misinformation, who's to know, but you could make the argument it's from reliable sources. We don't really know. There's another thing, another type of information. I don't know if you've heard of it, called malinformation.
No.
You heard of that? It's an interesting one. Malinformation is when what you're saying is true, but it doesn't serve the government to say that this is true. So they use methods of, I suppose, illegitimizing your points of view without saying that what you've said is untrue.
Right.
So it's kind of like, let's say your man Robert Kennedy, he has issues with some certain vaccinations, or he's gone to court and he's won cases on certain vaccinations. The media will label him as anti-vax to discredit him completely. So you take like an element of what he's saying, make that the whole, and then discredit, and that's apparently malinformation, which I've only heard about this recently. Yeah,
that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think I don't know if we're ever gonna get to the bottom of all this UAP stuff, but like, I would like to know what's going on. Yeah.
I'm still like unconvinced. I'm hopeful with all these people coming forward. I think it's definitely better than no one coming forward. And it seems like people are getting more comfortable. Like, you could argue after the Grush thing now that these four guys are a bit more comfortable and kind of saying, look, we can say these things and be saying, I know Elizondo's been saying stuff for a good while. I'm not sure about the other three.
Well,
but
they've all been,
in the sphere.
Like, when you see, the thing is with independent media, and again, you start talking about censorship and all that sort of stuff. Independent media is part of the reason that this has gotten as far as Congress, because it keeps getting reported on. And when you look into it further, people are going, there's something weird going on here. Like, so if you're a subsidized company either you would like, so say for example, the Irish Times is an NGO effectively. It gets some funding from the government. I'm sure even if nothing is said, they don't want you talking about something. I'm sure journalists would go mad at me for saying that, but I'd imagine there has to be some sort of interest there, a vested interest.
Could be just an unwritten rule.
Well, you just have to be careful because you don't want to, like, the reality is if you start annoying the government enough, they have the purse strings and they go, yeah, well, you're getting less this year.
Yeah, we'll cut your funding.
Now what?
Yeah, you're not towing the line properly.
Yeah. So
we'll move on. If anyone has anything to add to that, write in, let us know. Eamon, we've got a bit of a Banshee story from Reddit. This is actually based in Ireland as well, so if you want to take it away. Yeah.
So this happened when my brother and I were teenagers, maybe 13 and 14. It comes from Quit Outside 6355. Shouts out. We lived in a rural town. A town with a nice mix of busy streets and, at the time, sprawling farms. My family home was the second last house in the last neighbourhood before you hit farmland as far as the eye could see. To the right of my house was my neighbour's then, a thick hedgerow which separated the housing estate from the farm. The first 5 or 6 fields in this part of the farm grew barley and wheat. As kids, we made tunnels through the hedgerow and spent hours every day during the summer exploring the farm with our friends. Each field was huge and was separated from the neighbouring field by some other large hedgerow. Some complete with streams running through them. So yeah, I remember a lot of this from my youth because we were just been the first houses that were going into the suburbs, right up on farmland. One night, my little brother, our 2 best friends, and myself were outside our house playing with a football on the road and skateboarding, Tony Hawk. It was about 9:30 at night and quite dark. Remember, we are the second last house on the road and the very last housing estate before it was just barely as far as the eye could see. We were essentially the very edge of town. Anyway, on this night, we were hanging out as usual when suddenly we heard an ear-piercing squeal coming from the barley field beside us. It was so loud and high-pitched and had a feeling of panic about it, yet kind of funny to our young minds. We decided to go investigate, thinking it was a pig or an injured animal of some description. So in youthful excitement, we burrow through the hedgerow and start running towards the origin of the sound, all laughing, thinking in excitement. The barley was ready to be plucked up from the earth, so it was high, up past our waist, so we couldn't see anything that may be on the ground injured. As we get close to where the sound is coming from, it suddenly stopped. We looked at each other, laughing, and then it started again, but now it's originating from the point of the field which we first entered. We exchanged glances in confusion before sprinting towards the sound, believing it must be a scared, injured animal. Then the sound stops before immediately starting again directly behind us. This time it sounded ominous, and the feeling changed. The sound then stopped again, starting instantly, but way, way off in the distance. It moved towards us at speeds way too fast for an animal. Just as it reached us, it stopped and again came from the totally different end of the field, hurtling towards us in pitch black. Now we are frightened. This is not an injured animal. We have no idea what it is. The sound then seems to stop and start from everywhere, moving with incredible speeds all around us, covering huge distances in seconds. Without saying a word, we all run as fast as possible back to the hedgerow which we entered. All the while, this loud screeching, wailing moves all around us. My younger brother begins crying in fear as we all rush to get back into our neighbourhood under streetlights near our home. As soon as we cross the threshold, the high-pitched screaming chasing behind us stops at the border. We were all physically shaken and scared now. My little brother was hysterical for weeks, refusing to go back into the field, even during a sunny day. A few years later, my brother would tragically die suddenly in that house. Many strange sightings of a withered woman were reported around those fields over the years. If anyone is familiar with the legend of the Banshee, let me know what you think. This occurred in Ireland, as you probably guessed. Spooky.
Spooky, yeah.
Spooky.
Think about that.
She was moving like a UFO, so I was going in front of the lads, behind the lads. G-force.
Yeah, because if it wasn't moving around, you'd probably say it's like a fox or something, right? Or like some kind of, because they have a weird ass noise that they make. But then that sounds like way more paranormal, right?
It's just super scary. Like if you're with a bunch of your friends and then you start getting this screaming coming at you from all angles, and then years later they see this withered old woman. Like, there's something about cornfields. Why are they so scary? Because obviously you can't see what's there. But
it's probably the same reason that I get weirded out by swamps.
You can't see what's underneath.
It's like you don't. Every step is basically a mystery. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you take a stride through a cornfield, and chances are there's going to be more corn, but like you don't know what you're going to happen across. Same as a swamp. It's like every step you take, you don't know what you're going to step on.
Yeah, and with swamps, we know that in certain swamps, especially more so like America, bayous and all that sort of stuff, you've got alligators and
it's not even them, do you know. Like if I knew that there was no alligators or snakes in a swamp and I still had to go into a swamp, I'd
they
still
are pretty
be creeped
gross
out.
to be fair.
It was just creeped out. Like,
but it's not a bacteria thing, it's just
they're just creepy. Yeah, there's just a vibe from them.
How do you feel if you go to say the quarry and you go into the the wooded parts where you can kind of park the car, and it doesn't really lead anywhere, it's off the trail, but it's like mossy trees and
they are liminal. I actually talked about those on the solo episode I did on about the hour talk
one, yeah.
Like those pine plantations, the spruce, Sitka spruce plantations are just for profit. Like there's no nature in them, they're devoid of life, they're very liminal. There's like, because there's nothing grows in them. It's literally just
so
moss
it's like
grow.
You think it's almost by planting that it's like here's an in between.
Yeah,
there's life without life.
Yeah,
But like
they're just so dead. Like if you walk through them, like they don't. It's weird because you associate trees with life and nature, but like if you walk into the middle of one of those, it doesn't feel like life and nature. It feels like a weird sort of.
I wonder then, are
in between
responsible for creating liminal spaces all over Ireland?
Like, but you wouldn't camp in one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're weird. Like
there is a weird little vibe. Maybe it's because we associate the forest with natural.
Yeah, there's no light gets through. There's no proper growth on the floor because all the pine needles just fall down and they acidify the soil. I think it is, or whatever. But
yeah, I was taking a walk. Just up the rocks one day, and I started kind of around there, and I did walk into the kind of those lined forests.
Yeah.
And the further in you go, you do start to get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Like you're alone, you can't really see properly because of all the trees, and what should be a nice area, like to your point, almost seems swampish.
Yeah. They're a very strange thing. We're getting to the end of the pod. How was your week? Any news?
Very a lot of home renovations and improvements. I can't get a plumber for love nor money.
Nah,
like
tradesmen just don't like work really, or they like doing what they
can
want
get
to do.
so much work.
They don't like small jobs.
Yeah,
they're like fuck off and I
have about
what do you need a plumber for?
I just need a bit of work done in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
So there's just like the multi-wick. There's a tap, a mixer tap that needs to be changed. I tried doing the tap myself, nearly destroyed the place. I did get the hang of it eventually. I realised what was plumber tight and what was layman tight.
Oh, okay.
Layman tight doesn't work.
No.
But yeah, so we're trying to do a few bits. We're doing a little bit, not big stuff with the back garden, but because my back garden's so wild, we kind of left the little sitting area for a year because it was nice. Like there was growth coming through. It looked nice. But then when you want to get rid of it, it's like, oh boy. So I learned some important lessons.
Yeah, unfortunately that is the reality. It's like, having a wild garden is great, but if you need to use it for anything, it's not great at that point.
Yeah, like to be fair, I've always been pretty good at trimming everything back, so it's fine. It's just this summer's been so cat that like every time you try to do something it's raining, so I'm hoping to get a good day maybe in the next couple of weeks that I can go out and do a few bits. Ordinarily I could go out after work, but now that it's so dark, so look, it's
fairly cack. Yeah, we I don't know if our listeners realize, but like in the winter it's dark pretty much 4:30 here. 4:30 or 5.
The clocks go back, which was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Then so you wake up and it's dark. You finish work and it's dark. Like we drive to Dublin early, so we drive like about 10 to 6.
It's dark.
It's horrible.
Like,
Like, have you driven up the motorway?
I love. Yeah.
Do you like it?
Oh, I love that.
I don't like it in the morning. Because, in the morning you're so tired. It's like...
I know, I used to be out and about, man, all the time at night. Yeah. Loved it. I just love driving though. But I used to love going around at night, yeah. I actually preferred it because what I used to like about driving at night was you could see because the lights are so dramatic, you can see all the cars coming a mile away, you know, where everything is almost. Provided everyone has their lights on, but you're not alone in not liking driving at that.
It's not so much not liking it; it's the fact that you have to get up at 5 to leave before 6 to get to Dublin by 9 to then start a full day of work and then drive back and just be shagged like.
Yeah, the commute, it's not great.
It's pretty raspy. But
I was up there on the weekend.
You were seeing music?
Yeah, I had me Magdalena Bay concert. Fantastic, let me tell you.
Brilliant.
It was more zesty than a bag of lemons up at that gig.
Big limey bastards.
Oh, it was very zesty, and they're very popular with the LGBT crowd.
Oh, sorry, zesty. Right, okay.
And so there was a lot of Brazilian gay dudes, but like there was a couple ahead of me. Me and Cara were like standing kind of at the back because I'm so tall at these gigs. I get like,
you don't want to be.
I don't want to be in the way of everyone. Like,
I get you.
So we were kind of near the back, but like there was a group of gay lads. Man, you gay lads, we have a lot of gay listeners. You gay lads are absolute savages. The four of them were shifting each other.
Nice.
And like I was watching, I was like, "These are absolute animals!" Like
Fast,
they were. The Brazilian lad, he had a leather waistcoat on with a little like pencil mustache, and he was shifting one lad, and then he was hugging another lad in front of him, and then he was shifting a lad beside him, and I was like, "These boys are just fucking."
Do you know what I really appreciate about the gays? If I was gay, they're doing exactly what I would do. If I was gay, I'd be.
There's no courting.
Oh, you stop.
There's no courting.
I've been told by friends of mine that are gay that like on Grindr or whatever, dudes be like, "When's your lunch break?"
There's no
just go into the room, fill you out like an application form, and off they pop.
Well, Big Al, our homosexual correspondent on this podcast, there, he was showing us all that side when we were over meeting him in Scotland, and it's like. Yeah, man. It's like you can't help it, but yeah, they're very big with the LGBT crowd.
It's so class,
and there was a lot of LGBT people there. But fantastic gig, Jesus! I was really impressed actually because I think this is their first international tour, and so to put on a show, I'd say it's quite difficult, like because they did the UK, and then from Manchester they got the ferry over the night before.
Oh Lord!
And all their stuff would have been in a van.
So they got where were they playing again?
Manchester got the ferry to Dublin.
Where were they playing in
Button Factory.
Okay, yeah, so small, nice, intimate venues.
So, but the setup of the stage they had was actually really cool because it's kind of like a concept album, the album they're doing a tour for. But they had like this kind of mirror, like this oval shaped mirror. And the whole way out through the whole show, that was playing movies that corresponded with each song.
Ah, cool.
And not only that, but like, she, like the lead singer, she was acting in some of these videos on the screen, but they were synced up to her singing. So like she was singing and then the person in the screen was also singing at the same time. And I was like, that logistically must have been really tough to schedule, especially for your first, like, because like me and you even just trying to set up our live show was like a head wreck. And I'm like, how do people like logistically manage to pull all that together?
I
like,
guess you have a dude in the back who's like,
but it must be so tricky though. Like, just even syncing up that video with the live show. Now they were tight as fuck. Like, I mean, very.
But
good.
if you're syncing up a video, you'd have to like be on point.
Yeah,
because otherwise you just see the like. You know, you'd see it clicking.
The lip syncing and all would be strange, but
that's really interesting.
Very good show. But Button Factory is actually a great little venue.
Yeah, it's a lovely venue.
So I enjoyed that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Finished season 2 of From.
Okay, yeah. So is there 8 or 9 episodes of season 3 out so far? So,
is there? Yeah. So I'm catching. But probably by
what
the time
happens at the end of season 2?
She falls from the top of the lighthouse some way. So
yeah.
I can't give away spoilers in case anyone is watching as well, because we gave it a shout out. But I'm intrigued. I'm enjoying it. I think it's very good.
And to be fair to it, it continues the intriguement as you go on. Because I'm like,
I just hope it doesn't get fucking cancelled. It's been renewed for season 4,
right? Yeah,
but it better not get fucking cancelled because like shows.
To know what's going on. It's bizarre how unpopular it is.
Is it unpopular?
Well, not unpopular.
It's just
like, it hasn't hit that level. I think maybe it's not on the right. I think if that got brought to Netflix, it would just have like a massive new lease of life.
It probably will. Like it's. I'd imagine it's low budget enough to where that's why it's still going. Like it's probably not.
Well, to be fair, like you have the one set, effectively. Speaking of farms, there's a bit of that going on, and Boyd is probably the highest paid actor. in the thing,
so it's
right?
fairly low key that way. But it's a great show.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
If anyone's looking for something to watch, check it out. Especially if you like a bit of mystery and intrigue.
Where I am now, like next season, the third season it's a lot. I don't want to say gorier, but it's definitely more unsettling.
All right, good.
It's very unsettling.
That's what we want. Get it weird.
They make some interesting choices with what they do, and like where I am now is just, I won't say anything, but it's just bizarre.
All right,
like,
cool.
Why is this happening?
Let's get it weird. Yeah.
But it's got that, like, the whole last thing of like characters acting in bizarre ways that you don't know, but they know, that are then revealed to you later.
Even a little small bit of maybe Twin Peaks in there.
The kind of ghoulish, piney sort of the foresty areas and all the rest of it. Yeah, for sure.
There's a bit and a bit of Alan Wake, which is also heavily related. There's a lot of those kind of games.
It's like when you look at it, you're like, it's a real sort of traditional spooky thing. Like, here's a town you can't leave where things come out at night, and that's a very tropey idea. But I think they do a really good job of kind of keeping that interesting, because most of the time, it's not really about the place or the demons or whatever they are. It's more about, like, here's all these people trying to live together, and that's where the strength is in. You can say a lot of the characters are a bit one-dimensional in ways, but like they work well off each other. You know?
I don't think it's up to Lost levels of like character development. Lost was very good at that. That was like Lost's strong point, was just the characters. I mean, like the way Lost handled characters was very good as well, because they had so many episodes.
You felt very invested in it.
Well, each in every season, each character got at least one feature episode. So like Jack might have 2 episodes in a season where it's all about Jack. You know, so that was always got a built-in character.
What I started watching, I hadn't touched it. It's been out a while. The Penguin.
Oh yeah, I want to check that out.
It's fucking deadly.
Our boy Colin Farrell's supposed to be
so good. Like,
it's a cool dude, Colin Farrell.
He's so cool. Yeah. Colin, you're so cool.
Colin's been around that long that everyone forget. Me and the lads were discussing this the other night. Everyone forgets Colin Farrell had a sex tape.
Yeah,
he's been around that long.
When he was Bullseye,
he
had the fucking stupid thing on his head.
He was
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and baby, and not even fucking joking.
He was a pioneer in the field. Like,
him and Fred Durst dropped their sex tapes around the same time. Fred Durst, what I love about the sex tapes, it's so bizarre, is it's just like young ones getting done, and then you just turn the camera to yourself,
your head,
and be like.
Just
turn it, like, it's so stupid. Like, how could you be more narcissistic than to turn the thing that you like to look at to yourself and then turn it back? Like,
grim.
It's so grim.
Yeah,
but I do like Colin Farrell. He's a great actor. Like,
he is, and I didn't realize, but like he has a son that's special needs.
Does he?
Yeah, and he does a whole bunch of charity work for
I'd
like
say
special
so.
needs.
He seems like when I know he was meant to be wild when he was younger, like,
sure, wild, but by today's standards, probably fairly normal. Sure, almost everyone's on the bag every weekend now drinking. That's probably what he was doing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and you just have the bad boy image. Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, he's probably no different than an average Irish lad on a weekend.
Yeah,
he's throwing it around. He was with prime Britney Spears as well.
He's so handsome.
He was with her back in the day,
but he's so handsome. Like,
so
Colin Farrell is very like. If you look at Colin Farrell and you go, look at the rest of us Irish fucking ugly bastards, and he's just coming in there and goes, oh, by the way, I'm
I know, I think, to be fair, I think you're doing Irish people a disservice. We've got a lot of handsome people. We've got
per capita.
Cillian Murphy, Paul Mescal, Pierce Brosnan, Liam Neeson.
You know, the English.
Do I need? Will I go on?
Liam Neeson, you could argue he's up by the bog. Sorry. I think you're right, but that is 5 people. I think if you go
5 people just straight away, really easy there.
Just go. You've just named every Irish actor. Brendan Gleeson of savage looking man.
Brendan's not a bad looking man.
He's not. No, he's got a gravitas about him. Yeah. But I think as an island, you know, you wouldn't, when you hear Irish people, you don't think, wow, best in the world.
I don't know, man. I think you're selling yourself short. I think a lot of people internationally would say Irish men are. I think that we always do really well in
I think
balls.
we do well because we're right crack.
But that's the whole part of the.
No, I'm talking purely visibly.
Oh no, I think you're selling us short.
I just think when you put us up against, you know, the Greeks and things like that, it's hard for us.
Greeks,
man.
I don't know.
Greeks
disagree there.
Big butsy biceps on them out on the beach.
I don't
tanning.
know. It's all relative, you
sallow
see.
skin. It is, of course.
What's rare is
I'm only
wonderful.
joking.
You're saying Irish because it's Irish. Yeah, but then there's people that would desire paler skin.
Well, apparently it used to be very, very fun back in the day because it meant you should stay in your big castle the whole time.
Yeah, but
Do you know what I mean? People are like, ooh,
but sure, like look, even
paste.
look nowadays, like the whitewashing is a thing. Like people try and bleach their skin, to be more white.
which we don't agree with.
No, but people do it.
They shouldn't.
Well, loads of women do that. Loads of African American women, tanned women, they'll try and
There
bleach their skin.
seems to be. I think that regardless of the color of your skin, you're beautiful.
Oh no, of course. But what I'm saying
Everyone's
is the beauty standard
Yeah,
is always
But
what's rare is wonderful.
When I first went to Canada, I remember being told of like girls who would come from Asia who like would get surgeries on their eyes
to make their eyes bigger.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know. Yeah, I think that's kind of, it's all bizarre. It's a shame.
But that's what I'm saying. That's like literally.
Do you know what the world isn't ready for though?
Uh,
Asians are in America. You know, they're having interracial relationships with black people. I don't think the world's ready for the Asian black person yet because like they're going to be they're going to be top. They're going to be top of the pops. They're going to be the most beautiful.
There would be, yeah.
Asian American, we're not ready. We're not able.
There probably is some out
Asian
there.
girl with all them curves, you joking?
Probably is some out there.
Oh, there's a few out there. What I'm saying is we're not ready and they're coming. Okay? We're not ready. They're coming and they're too hot.
You know, the Japanese Americans are keeping alive that old racist tradition, so they won't be mixing too much now for a while.
I don't know, man. I'd say
The Japanese Americans will tell you themselves there's a big racist problem with them.
I heard the Japanese themselves, the Japanese Americans are.
Yeah, they don't like
You
mixing.
have to get a Korean wife and all.
They don't like mixing.
Yeah. Well, I'm mixing. I'm mixing up there in the house.
Yeah.
I'm mixing mixomatosis, doing the whole lot.
Oh yeah, not sure you know what I mean?
I'm out
like,
there mixing.
You know, why not? Like,
I tell you why not. Like, no reason. I'm up there mixing.
Yeah.
Jay O'Neill in that house. That's how my mixes are.
Marla's story is Irish people are beautiful. And is self-hating Catholic.
The shame of Catholicism. Once again, rearing its ugly head on Monsters, making us feel like less than we are, which is the most beautiful people on the planet.
But no, it is like literally, right? Irish women mad for the fake tan, right?
Yeah.
Heavily tanned women from like Europe and stuff like getting a bit paler. They like looking paler. It's always been a beauty standard thing. Like look at the Spanish royalty and stuff. They were always like porcelain. That. Like it's always
what's
thing.
Rare, I suppose.
That's
makes it feel as if you're more valuable.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's probably just some old style weird fucking shit, but it definitely is a thing. Like, so even look at like the beauty standard now with everyone getting like big lips and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's of a time. I think that's going to be the same as like in
it's very much
Renaissance,
of a time.
People were like overweight and that signified food and that was like a turn on. And now it's like
lips are just rotten.
I don't. Yeah, I've seen girls who are way too young to be getting that done. It looks bizarre, and it looks like they have a load of Bonjela on their lips because they look all weird and swollen.
It looks like they're about to burst.
Yeah, stop doing that.
It's really strange because, like, you know, you look at photos of like celebrities from say like 2000 and like everyone looks really individual. Like everyone looks super unique.
Yeah.
Like
Whereas
people are
cookie cutted now.
Yeah, people look like they're dressed like fucking mad. Like, you know, but like for example, it would be back then it was very normal for a celebrity to rock up in a t-shirt and a jeans to an event, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's all very groomed that everyone looks like a certain way.
It's like
it has to be.
Yeah.
But that's like Instagram. Probably
when they
the
do
beauty standard is.
Yeah. But even when they do want
now.
to wear a t-shirt, everyone's wearing a Ramones t-shirt or a Motorhead t-shirt. It's like, come on, lads.
What's wrong with the Ramones?
Nothing's wrong. It's that they don't like them. That's the problem. I think there's something very disingenuous about wearing a band t-shirt
for us,
that you don't like. Though. That really upsets me.
But that's for us, though.
No, yeah, I get it. It's fashion.
Music, acoustics.
Yeah.
So that bugs
Name
us.
3 songs. Like, I wouldn't be a dude like
we're
that.
gatekeeping.
But when you see
what
everyone...
fuck?
Yeah, it is frustrating.
Well, we're gatekeeping because we care about it.
But sure, they gatekeep.
But then we don't care about, like, if someone's wearing a Super Mario t-shirt, you know what I mean? We're like...
You've never played Super Mario. And you're wearing a Super Mario
You don't know
t-shirt.
fucking Super Mario like I do.
Don't be going around wearing your TriStar t-shirt and you think that Zelda is the main character.
I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. if the artwork is cool and someone likes the artwork,
I get that, but then you're a fan of art, and then you'd be able to like have a chat. But if you're just like do you know what I mean?
I get it, because like I'm one of them dudes that loves the fact that like Nirvana are super mainstream now, because I could just buy a Nirvana t-shirt in pennies. I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
That's because you like
Nirvana. I'm like, great. You know I can wear the New World t-shirt for like a tenner out of pennies,
rather than
so I mean, it works both ways. It's kind of good in a way, because you can get like, even these Street Fighter t-shirts, great. These were all that fucking like boo-hoo. People are asking me like, where are you getting all the Street Fighter? It's like one of the most fast fashion bullshit fucking,
just go online and get it
for like a tenner. It's like happy days. We eating now because people are culture vultures wanting to wear our shit.
It's the last time. Like, it's all going to go away soon. I feel like we're all going to be back living in mud huts.
I hope so. Hopefully.
I'll be talking about, do you remember in Udero t-shirts? They're not.
You used to be able to get them for a tenner.
What? Talking to the digital, like you have old tech that like has a hologram of your friend.
Yeah, well,
talking about
Russia yesterday before, well, they don't know who or how it happened, but conveniently, let's say, an underwater data connection wire between, I think it's Finland and somewhere else, got severed. And of course, there was Russian submarines sighted around the area prior to the severance. And where else were they spotted? In the Irish Sea, between our data cables, between America and us.
Oh yeah, they've done
so that gets cut. Then lads, you won't be hearing us anymore. You know. We'll be in mud huts.
We ate well while the bounty was there, and the bounty's about to be taken away from us. We won't be eating well no more.
We won't.
Literally and figuratively, it's all going away.
But we'll leave it there for today. Hope you enjoyed this mini Fuzz. I have been Rob.
I've been Eamon.
Monster Fuzz over and out.